Hey, welcome back to the shop. Happy 2026. I appreciate you joining us here on the first video of January 2026. You know, at the beginning of every year as woodworkers, I guess as individuals, we all set goals for the new year. And, whether they're personal goals, their fitness goals, travel goals, or business goals. And what I was trying to do for this year for the business was trying to find a way to be more accountable for one, also be more efficient for the other. When I say that, I'm fairly efficient in the shop and I'm accountable to my work, but I'm getting to where it comes into pricing. As you know, as woodworkers, when we make the same thing, over and over, like for example, we make a dining room table or we make cutting board, we have a pretty good idea of what that costs as far as time and materials. So when we give a price to a customer, we usually have a pretty good ballpark where we know we're going to be okay so we can meet our minimum hourly rate. It's important. I mean, if you have a business, you have to try to stay within the guidelines of your hourly rate so that you can meet your bills and meet your overhead. And, if you do this full time, and I do it full time now, but a lot of you all, this may not pertain to because it might be a side hustle. You have a full-time job, you're doing it after hours. You may not even make furniture or crafts or anything for people. But this is kind of geared more towards people that do build furniture and they have client work. So what I thought about was, in the past when I used to build a table for somebody, I used to kind of go to my dry erasure board and I used to write the time down on it. I'd say starting 8 a.m. in the morning, I'd go for 4 hours, and then if I took a lunch break, I'd write, left at 11, then I'd punch back in at 1 or what have you. And I would keep an ongoing, just accumulated time so that I knew how much time I actually had into the project. But then after a while, you get into the project, and then what happens is you forget to go to the dry erasure board, or there's no room left on the dry erasure board. So I was thinking, what can I do to be more efficient in the shop this year? What can I do to hold myself accountable to these times? Now, and this is also kind of geared towards, for example, say I'm building something for a client that's something I haven't built before. Say they want a mid-century, walnut chair, lounge chair. I've built plenty of chairs and I've built plenty of bar stools and rockers, but I didn't build this kind of chair. This is something I haven't built. So how much do I charge them for that? You don't want to just kind of cut yourself short. You don't want to figure, it's 35 hours and then it may take 60 hours. So you find yourself upside down where you hardly made anything at all on the project itself. Now that's going to happen from time to time as woodworkers. We're all, when you get on one of those projects that's a one-time thing that you've done, I don't think you really ever get your time out of it. But the main thing is you want to make sure that the customer is happy with it. You're going to take the hit, but so you don't have to take the hit anymore, I come up with I thought about this little idea. Instead of having to go to the dry erasure board all the time and keep track of it that way, which could be monotonous, I got something new here. This is it's not really a shop tool, it's more of a shop tip. So I thought this was pretty cool. This is a digital LED timer that I could put on the side of my table here, on the side of my work table. And it's going to make my job a lot easier. Let's see what this bad boy looks like. Oh yeah, bright yellow too. I'm not gonna lose that in the shop. But anyway, this has magnetic back on it. It has a countdown and a count up timer up to 99 hours. So also, it has a little USB port and an out where you can plug this into 120 to charge it up. So it's got chargeable batteries. So it's very, very cool, very efficient. I was thinking I'm going to go ahead and mount it right on the side of my assembly table here. So that way, when I'm working on a new project that I don't really know how long it's going to take, I just go ahead and hit the little on button, get a count up timer going on it. When I take a break, hit the button, it stops. When I come back from lunch or something, or I start working again, hit the button, it starts, and it's going to keep a continuous showing of how many hours I've worked on that project. I think it's going to really help me in the shop to be more efficient and more effective. Now, you know, if I kind of go back and I say, you know, say I charge $4,500 for a table and, you know, or a piece of furniture. After I take my materials out and everything, you know, I have left my labor. Well, I take that labor and I divide it by how many hours I have on this clock, and it's going to give me a pretty good idea of how much I made per hour. That's going to be helpful. Now, if you're at the rate that you normally charge, that's good. If you're below that rate, you're going to have to find another way to try to get back to where you were so that you're making an hourly rate that you actually need for your bills and for your overhead. Another way you can do that, maybe take a look at your shop as far as shop organization. Are you spending a lot of time walking from one machine to another, or do you have them grouped together? For example, breaking down lumber, break it down on the chop saw. I come in here, as long as you have your planer, your joiner, and your table saw all in one area, you're not having to go from one end of the shop to the other. So maybe that can be a chance for you to be more efficient in your shop. Maybe when you're going to get lumber from a lumber yard, instead of getting it rough, get it S2S or S3S. So that way you're going to save some of that process time. That's going to cut off time from your project. So there's a lot of ways we could be more efficient, but I think this is going to be a good start. It's going to help me. Again, it's not going to work on the first piece of furniture I'm making for somebody, because that's kind of a trial and error to see how many hours I have in it. But if I have to make that same piece for somebody again, I'm going to know that I have 50 hours in that. So I'll have a better idea on how to price it. I think another way that this can be very effective in your shop is glue ups. You know, we can always use, I know you're probably saying, well, you know, we have a stopwatch, we can do that. But when you're doing a complicated glue up, I don't want to keep looking at my stopwatch and everything and then lose focus on what I'm working on. So you can set this up as a countdown timer. Different glues have different setup times. Like, for example, Titebond 2 may be 15 minutes, Titebond 3 may be 30 minutes. Epoxy may be something else. So if I'm using Titebond 2 as 15 minutes setup time, I'm going to set this timer right here with these big LED digital numbers sitting on my desk here, so that when I have everything set up, and trust me, we all know as woodworkers, when you're doing a complicated glue up, I get sweaty palms because I'm thinking this is going to start setting up before I finish, and that's what I don't want. So if I have everything set up and I set my timer at 15 minutes, I can focus on my glue up and not have to worry about am I at 18 minutes, am I at 20 minutes, or, you know, then you start rushing your project, you start making mistakes, or you forget to put glue on something, or, you know, it could just turn into a disaster. So this has a lot of different features and a lot of functions you can use. Like I said, it's up to 99 hours, or you can do a countdown timer or a count up timer. I picked it up at Amazon. You know, it's $20+. Don't hold me accountable on the price, but I think they're about $25, $24, but they have different types you can get, different colors. I picked yellow because I figure I could see that. But anyway, I think another way that I can use this is, for example, say you're not a full-time woodworker and you want to spend more time in your shop in the evening. You get home from your day job, you have dinner, you come down, you say, I want to spend 3 hours in the shop. Well, you can look at your clock and say, okay, I'm going to start at 6 and I'll be done at 9. But, you know, you might find yourself, how much work are you actually getting done in your shop? You know, a lot of us go down in our shop and we enjoy just being in the shop. I could sit down here and look at tools all day long and just be in my comfort zone. But if I'm working on a project, I can hit that timer. I can go ahead and go, and once I'm done with that project, I can hit it again. I might be in my shop 3 hours, but literally I only work for an hour. So, you know, it's a way of being more efficient and tracking your time in your shop to hold yourself accountable. So, I don't know, something new I'm going to try this year. You know, we're all setting goals and trying to get better and be more efficient in what we do. And I think we owe it to our customer too. I don't want to charge a customer for something that it doesn't take as many hours as it should. I might be able to get the hours down on it and better my price. So it's all about being efficient. It's all about being accountable. So I hope this is something that you might think about using in your shop. if you can, jot down in the comments, if it's something you think it's worth doing, or just jot down in the comments, what are you doing this year to be more efficient in your shop? What ideas can you share with the woodworking community? I think it helps all of us, and I've always said, challenge yourself as a woodworker. There's a lot of times a customer will come up to you and say, could you build this? And you're like scratching your head going, I don't know, I've never built that before, but take it on. If it's something that you think you can take it on, challenge yourself. If you don't challenge yourself as a woodworker, you're never going to get better. You're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I mean, it's firewood when it's done, so it's not rocket science. But I think if you challenge yourself as a woodworker, you try to be more efficient in your shop, you try to be more productive in your shop, you try to make sure you have a good workflow in your shop, I think it's all gonna work out for the best for you. So if you got anything out of this video, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, looking at some new and exciting things this year. And also be safe in your shop. So have fun in what you do. My best to you in 2026. Go out there and get them and enjoy your shop time. And again, be safe. Thanks for watching.